Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. And from McFarlane Toys, we are featuring the DC Multiverse Batman. And this is Batman as he appears in Justice League Endless Winter. Alright, to be honest, I'm unfamiliar with this version of Batman. Endless Winter came out shortly after I stopped reading Justice League. I was on board with Justice League since since the mid '90s, and I don't know. At a certain point, a year or two ago, I kind of like became disenchanted with the book and the direction they were going. So, unfortunately, I kind of dropped the book and I don't read it anymore. So I'm not familiar with this version of Batman. Although I do remember seeing ads for Endless Winter. So as you can see here, this is a part of a Build-A-Figure set. There's 4 figures. This is number 2, and if you get the additional figures, you can complete the Frost King, which looks very impressive. Looking through the window, you can see some of the accessories. You have the 2 Build-A-Figure pieces for the arms for Frost King, and also his giant broadsword. And then we have Batman in his like winterized gear. And I'm unsure of what this is. Since I didn't read the comic, I don't know what that is. And I got this figure clearanced at one of my local GameStops. And I also got some... I didn't pay 18 bucks for it. I actually paid less for it because I was like a pro member. So I think I only paid maybe like $13 for this figure altogether. On the back, here's the Frost King. So this is the figure you're going to complete. Here are all the Build-A-Figure pieces. And then the other figures in the wave that you need are Wonder Woman. We have the Batman. There's a new John Stewart Green Lantern. It's essentially the first release, but I think they colored his gloves. His gloves are colored, I think, green, not black. And then there's the really cool Black Adam figure. And don't forget, you get the trading card and the display base. Okay, so first impressions of winterized Batman. He looks cool. I dig this look a lot. There's kind of a weird novelty to it. The Build-A-Figure pieces look awesome too. The arms are gigantic, so I can only imagine how large this figure is. If I had to guess, it's probably like along the same size as like you know, some of the Mega figures or the or like the Devastator figure from a few years back. Alright, let's check out Batman from Endless Winter. This coat is wild. The one thing I noticed right off the bat, though, is that it's kind of a heavier, thicker material, so there's no real give to it. It's not very pliable. So it's probably going to limit the articulation in terms of the figure kicking out to the side. I'm kind of torn on the look with the utility belt over the coat. You know, I'm sure this is how it was portrayed in the comic book, but it looks kind of silly. You know, it doesn't rest perfectly flush against his body. You know, I mean, if this is accurate to the comic book, I can't really fault it. But it's just kind of weird. Overall, I mean, the figure is very impressive looking. I like the armor pieces on him. So this is kind of like Batman in a winterized outfit. You don't see his face at all. It almost looks like OG Commando Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. He has red lensed goggles. And I'm not sure if these come off. They look like they're sitting a little high on my guy's face. And I'm trying to get a peek what's underneath this, because I'm curious if this actually is removable. Oh, it is actually. Just wait. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so you can actually remove the goggles. Here you go. And if you're wondering, I was painting earlier. I was working on some Warhammer miniatures, and I got paint on myself. And here's his look without the goggles. He just has a pair of like tiny beady eyes. Now, one thing is I've noticed also as I'm handling this is that he's constantly looking downward. So his head's constantly just facing down, and I'm trying to raise his head up, but it doesn't want to. It seems like on my figure, it doesn't want to rest completely, rest back. It kind of requires a little, at least on my action figure, requires a little bit of force to move his head back and to keep it, you know, so he's looking directly straight forward, not looking down like the figure was packaged. So he's, there you go. It's an interesting head without the goggles. It almost looks like Black Panther. The coat, like I said, is a harder, heavier material. The shoulder pads are attached to the coat on the top near the shoulders. There's a beautiful looking texture throughout his long jacket. And you can even see some of the details on his face. There's some vents on the side of the mask. It's kind of like recessed around the eyes and where the goggles are supposed to be placed. It actually, in my opinion, I think it looks cooler without the goggles. You know, being able to see his eyes gives the figure a little bit more presence. You know, if you wanted to, maybe go rest the goggles higher on his head, like this. I think this is a much better look than resting them, you know, over his eyes. It looks cooler like that, I think. Especially since he's absent a mouth. You know, I think it's nice to actually see his eyes, so he has some like defining features on his face. I'm not too keen on the texture used for the furry lining for the lapel on his long coat. It looks more like, I don't know, like whipped cream than like fur. He has the bat emblem on his chest, and then it repeats again on his abdomen, which I think is odd. Again, that's probably, you know, the way it is portrayed in the comic book. The utility belt is really nice, but like I said, it kind of bothers me that it's not sitting flush against his body. You know, part of me kind of feels like they should have pulled the coat in tighter so that these two ends meet. And the utility belt wraps around his waist and looks like it's two pieces glued onto his back. The forearm guards are really cool. I dig these a lot. I like the color gray they use for the armor pieces. They do a good job of covering up the ball joint for the wrist articulation. You know, on a lot of McFarlane figures, especially earlier ones, the ball joint's really clearly exposed. Here, they do a good job of just hiding it. It's much cleaner. He kind of has a pointed cod piece. Nice texture on his pants. Love the armor pieces. I can't stress that enough. The knee pads look awesome, as well as his boots. It kind of reminds me, if you've seen the new Injustice 2 Batman, which I reviewed recently, this color gray kind of reminds me of that. These boots, the boots and the shin guards here, it looks very Iron Man, in my opinion, like right here. Especially the way how the shin guard cuts upward like that, and then it kind of leaves the ankle. Yeah, visually he's a really cool looking figure. It's a very different take on Batman. But the one thing I do dig about this, it's not like the kind of like variations of Batman we got as a kid growing up. You know, I always talk about like, you know, when I was little, we'd get like a million different versions of Batman. You know, there'd be the standard Batman, but then there'd be like the oddball ones. For example, like this is an example of a 90s oddball Batman. You know, this is from Batman Forever by Kenner. And then it's not a plain Batman. You know, it's like Night Flight Batman. It's essentially still Batman, but he just comes with a lot of crap. The one thing I like about this, that it's still Batman, but the costumes changed enough. You know, it's not like the standard Batman costume where they just throw on like giant wings or some sort of crazy like robot armor. You know, like this guy here. I like the fact that his costume's changed up with a coat. And then he has all these armor pieces on the outside. It's like I said, the only thing that bothers me is just the belt. One Batman I really hope they tackle in the near future is that I hope they tackle the Red Earth Batman from Superman Red Earth. That was an Elseworlds comic book from years ago, written by Mark Miller. I think it was illustrated by Dave Johnson, I think. That's a really cool looking Batman. It's like Batman, but he's wearing kind of like wearing one of those like Russian furry hats, and it's awesome. There's like a DC Direct box set of like Superman Red Earth. And I think it comes with 4 figures. It comes with Superman, Batman, maybe Lois, and someone else. And that box set on the secondary market's going for like crazy, crazy prices. One of my local toy stores has the box set, but it was like previously used, and they have all the figures and accessories, but it's like $90, and I can't pull the trigger on it because I'm not sure what shape the figures are in. So yeah, here's like a example of all the different Batmans like I was talking about. You know, we never got, like for me in the 80s and 90s, it was hard just getting like a plain Batman. You know, if you just want a Batman that looked plain and normal, you know, good luck. It's like every version of Batman had some sort of weird colors, you know, like here they have like neon armor. There's like a silver Batman. You know, even Robin, you know, there's martial arts Robin. It's fun if you're a kid. But sometimes you just want like the plain iconic version of the character. I've said this before though, you know, growing up is completely my attitude growing up, you know, is kind of evolved. So now that I'm a much older, you know, adult, quote unquote, I'm a little bit more open-minded. So I'm a little bit more open-minded to like, you know, Batman or Superman being in like different costumes other than, you know, the tried and true traditional spandex. This guy's articulation, his head rotates. As I mentioned earlier, he could look down, doesn't want to look up. Arms rotate, but they hit the shoulder piece here. They go outward. Double pinned elbows, as you can see. Articulated wrists, but nicely hidden with the cuff of the coat. He's articulated, I think, beneath the chest line, but I don't think it doesn't matter all that much though, because this coat is so thick that it kind of really prevents you from, you know, moving this around. So even if he has an ab crunch, it's not gonna happen because the coat's so thick. Same with going back. Likewise, I think he has a waist swivel, but again, you know, the coat kind of hinders the motion a lot. You know, same with being able to kick out to the side. Even though there's a big split in the back of the coat, the material is so thick. It's thick at the trim, at the fur trim, and it just prevents you from, like, you know, going out all the way. It does kick forward about that much. Double pinned knees, articulated ankles and toes. So it's a great figure. I think it's fantastic. Visually, it's a... Ow, mother... Jeez, that was friggin' tight. Yeah, I like pinched myself on the knee joint just now. God, that hurt. I think it's like the third time I've hurt myself filming a video. So visually, I think it's an impressive figure. You know, visually, I'd rate this guy like a 9 or a 10. It's the articulation that hurts it. You know, this coat, as cool as it looks, it's really going to prevent you from, like, putting it in all sorts of wacky poses. I do like the head without the goggles. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of Black Panther. The body armor underneath looks nice. It kind of reminds me of the Dark Detective, the body armor. So if you have that figure, that, you know, it kind of looks like that. Overall, it's a solid figure. You know, I kind of feel like if you have one of these figures in the Endless Winter set, you kind of need the other, like, winterized versions of the characters, like the Wonder Woman. You know, she looks really cool. And man, that really friggin' hurt. How bad is it? I don't know. Okay, so I think that kind of wraps it up here. It's a great figure. I do recommend it just because visually it's a very different take on Batman. Even if you never read that comic, much like myself, it's just pretty cool. I think it looks awesome. And if you're a customizer, I'm sure you can use this coat for something. You know, it's kind of wild looking. You know, maybe convert it into a bathrobe or something. Who knows? Alright, so with that being said, let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.